President Obama fast-track trade authority. Only 5 Republican senators voted against the bill, but 13 Democratic senators voted for the Republican-sponsored bill to grant the president the power to negotiate trade deals without meaningful congressional oversight. If this authority passes the House too, this president and the next president will hold fast-track authority until 2021. That's 6 years when our current and our next president can negotiate trade deals and unilaterally push their trade agenda through Congress without meaningful debate, with no amendments or filibuster, and with a simple majority of members of Congress voting. Do we really think it's a good idea to give Scott Walker or Jeb Bush, or for that matter even Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, the power to negotiate deals that usurp American laws without meaningful oversight? We've seen the damages from NAFTA, a deal championed by Democratic President Bill Clinton. Last night on this show, Congressman Alan Grayson explained how America was sold to foreign corporations under NAFTA. Take a look.
The trade debt, the trade deficit is entirely different. That's not money we owe to ourselves. That is 100% money that we owe to people and businesses in other countries, even governments in other countries. It all started with NAFTA. Before NAFTA went into effect, in 200 years of our history, we never had a trade deficit of $135 billion in any year. Every single year since NAFTA has gone into effect, for over 20 years, we've had a trade deficit of over $135 billion. And one causes the other. Because when you take that money out of our economy, when you take that money out of buying our goods and services, the government has to step in and make up the difference. Otherwise, our economy collapses. The reason why we have a federal deficit is because we have a trade deficit.
That's right. Foreign corporations and governments own more than 1/7 of all American assets now, because free trade agreements like NAFTA led to more imports, but not more exports. Here now to talk about TPA, SHAFTA, the rise of global corporatism, the legal impacts of free trade deals, is America's lawyer, Mike Papantonio. Pap, welcome back.
Tom, how are you?
Great to see you. As a litigator, I'm curious, what's your biggest concern about granting the president fast-track authority, A, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, what I call the SHAFTA? How does that affect the ability of individual Americans to protect themselves by using people, by using attorneys to defend their rights?
Well, it's going to close the courthouse doors on very important issues, whether they're pharmaceutical cases against the mega pharmaceutical companies or environmental cases against America's and the world's worst polluters. I think it's remarkable, almost the same week that Obama is out talking about how, gee whiz, this is really going to have no effect. We don't have to worry about countries suing us. You notice that Canada brought a case, the Canadian banks under Chapter 11 NAFTA brought a case against the United States taxpayers because of the Volcker Act. Now, that happened almost contiguous with the time that Obama's sitting there talking, this has no effect. We see this lawsuit coming out. And you know what? Under the terms of NAFTA, the U.S. probably will lose that. We'll lose the protection of Volcker. And not only that, taxpayers will end up paying for that money. So, I mean, look, the thing that's most bothersome to me is we have this I call it the Dalai Lama syndrome. That's what Obama is facing right now. He can't imagine why people like Sheldon Whitehouse and Sherrod Brown and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have the audacity, or Alan Grayson, to speak out about this. You know, he's not used to progressives speaking out against him. And it's almost this Dalai Lama syndrome. Now he gets very angry. He attacks them in a very loud kind of voice, a very angry kind of voice, because we've misjudged him. And this is a sign that we've misjudged him. He doesn't want debate. He's not interested in debate from his own party. And so now we have this alliance between him and the Republicans, and it's going to really, really harm the rights of people to bring lawsuits in this country, to change, to bring about social change that matters.
I think it was today, it might have been yesterday afternoon, but it was just announced that the World Trade Organization has ruled, as a result of a lawsuit against the United States by some foreign corporation, that our regulations that require the labeling of country of origin for meat products that are imported into the United States are an illegal restraint of trade. So now the meat you're buying in the supermarket, I don't know, maybe this is a good argument for vegetarianism. I mean, it might be coming from a country, and there are many, where they use antibiotics that are banned in the United States, where they use hormones that are banned in the United States, where they use chemicals that are banned in the United States. People could literally be getting cancer and neurological diseases and not even know why or where it came from. Is that WTO situation that's happening right as we speak, or just happened, that's the sort of thing that TPP brings along, right?
Well, that's right. Whether it's GMO, whatever it is, whether it's the use of pesticides on our crops. Look, the point is this. You ask about the legal aspect of it. The people making decisions, here's where they're going to come from. They're going to come from corporate entities. They're going to be people who've made their entire living, their entire life from a corporation. They're paid attorney's fees from corporations. One day, they're going to be representing the corporation. Then the next Tuesday after that, they're going to be making a decision on who wins and who loses. These are silk-stocking corporate lawyers that I go to war with every single day. And every single day, there's not one day that they choose to take up for the consumer. These are people that I have to go to trial against constantly, whether they're destroying the environment, whether they're killing us with tobacco, whether they're killing us with pharmaceuticals. These are the silk-stocking lawyers that keep the American labor movement down. They keep the environmentalists down. This is who I go to trial against almost every day in some form or fashion. Now, under this Obama's TPP, we're even going to lose some of the effectiveness of that. We're not even going to be able to bring lawsuits. We're going to have tribunals that are going to make decisions in other countries. They're not even going to sit here, Tom. You understand, right now, a corporation doesn't really have a country. A corporation, if you think of it, it's almost like a locust. They're moving all over the globe trying to extract everything they can. They don't have a flag in France. They may be physically in France, but they don't think of themselves as French or German or Italian or even U.S. So what they're doing is moving around the globe, extracting as much as they can. TPP opens that door entirely for them. And now in the United States, we don't even allow our court systems to get involved and to stop all that. Right. So this is the worst of the worst. This is, you know, the legacy that's going to be left for the Democrats and this president is going to be the payoff for the Democrats and the Republicans and this president who thought this was such a great idea. And you know what? You live by that, they're going to have to die by that. It's going to hurt Democrats in years to come in a very serious kind of way if the House doesn't stand tall on this.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of our last hope. And this ObamaTrade.com website, which is the conservative arguments against Obama trade or against TPP, is, you know, hopefully more and more Republicans will see this and call their Republican members of Congress. I think that's the weak spot on this, or the potential for this. Moving along, Greg Abbott, another legal issue here. The Republican governor of Texas just signed a bill into law that makes it illegal for individual counties or cities in Texas to ban fracking. I believe this is on the back end of the town of Denton, Texas, saying we don't want fracking in our town. There's a whole bunch of issues involved around this. This bill was introduced after actually several towns. A bunch of issues around this. One, what happened to the Republican love for local control? They want local school boards to be able to ban sex ed or you know, refuse to teach evolution or something like that, but they don't want the local town to be able to say to the oil companies, you can't frack here. And then two, is this, you know, what's the legal basis for a state saying to a town, you can't pass a law that gives you control over your own town?
Well, they're trying to grab legal basis for it. They're trying to say that it's a police power, that it's a health, safety, and welfare issue, that the state has the superior rights to that municipality. We're seeing this primarily, we're losing home rule, Tom. You're losing home rule on things like gun control. You're losing home rule on things like minimum wages, where you may have a city that says we want a law that allows the people in our city to be able to be paid a minimum wage. That's a livable kind of wage. So more and more you're seeing that the Constitution doesn't allow for direct participant government. This is a creation of ours. We, by way of interpretation, looking at the 10th Amendment, we say that you can have direct government, participant government, with things, with people going to the polls and voting on referendums. But now, so that same thing has always held true for the locality, for the town or the township. And so what's happening now is you have the Republican governors on issues like drilling for oil or fracking saying, you know, the city shouldn't be able to do that because we have a superior position in looking out for the welfare of the people in the state. We're going to use our police powers. We're going to say that you're interfering with commerce, you're interfering with health, safety, and welfare by enacting these various laws. This is a very important test, and I got to tell you something. It could be on its way to the Supremes, couched in the question of how strong the 10th Amendment questions about home rule can actually be for local government when commerce rights and property rights are weighed against what we call these things that I just described called police power. Has huge potential for huge ramifications as a way for cities to protect themselves. And now the Supreme Court may have to take a look at this. South Florida, for example, water intrusion because of climate change. Well, you have cities down there that are trying to change the law. Gun carry issues, fracking and drilling, those are money issues that always affect local politics. So that's why we're seeing the Koch brothers and Republicans putting so much money into these small local races because cities are trying to take care of themselves.
And as they should. Mike Papantonio, America's lawyer, thanks a lot for being with us tonight, Pat.
Thank you, Tom.